You've been told that you need to be excited, that you need to feel ready, that there's a moment coming when everything will click into place, when the fog will lift, and you'll finally have the energy to do what needs to be done. But that moment keeps moving further away, doesn't it? You wait for motivation like you're waiting for a train that never arrives. And while you're standing there, watching, the days pass. The weeks turn over, and the quiet weight of everything undone grows heavier. What if I told you that you've been waiting for the wrong thing? That motivation is not the fuel you think it is. It's not a door that opens. It's not a switch that flips. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like weather. And if you build your life around it, you'll spend most of your time standing still, wondering why nothing moves. The truth is simpler than that. You don't need to feel motivated. You need to be calm. Calm is not excitement. It's not enthusiasm or fire or energy that burns bright and fast. Calm is something else entirely. It's the ability to move without needing to feel ready, to act without waiting for permission from your emotions, to do what must be done, not because you're inspired, but because it's time. And that difference, small as it sounds, changes everything. There's a concept in Japanese thought called Jonetsu no Nai Kodo. It translates roughly to action without passion. Not because passion is wrong, but because passion is fleeting. It rises and falls. It abandons you when you need it most. Action without passion means you move regardless of how you feel. You don't ask yourself if you're in the mood. You don't check your emotional weather before you begin. You simply begin. And in that simplicity, there's a kind of freedom that motivation can never give you. Western culture teaches us to chase feelings. We're told that great things come from great emotion, that you need to be pumped up, energized, driven by some internal fire. But look closely at the people who actually do great things, and you'll notice something different. They're not always excited. They're not always inspired. Most of the time, they're just steady. They show up. They do the work. They don't make a big deal out of it. They've learned that the feeling comes after the action, not before. And that's the part we get backward. When you rely on motivation, you're giving control to something outside yourself. You're saying, I'll move when I feel like it. But feelings are not loyal. They shift, they deceive. They tell you that tomorrow will be easier, that next week you'll be ready, that if you just wait a little longer, the right mood will arrive. And so you wait, and nothing changes, because you've placed your trust in something that was never designed to carry you. Calm, on the other hand, is not a feeling. It's a posture. It's the way you hold yourself when everything inside you is uncertain. It's not about being fearless. It's about acting while afraid, moving while tired, beginning even when you don't want to. Calm is what remains when motivation has left the room. And it's stronger than motivation ever was, because it doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends on who you decide to be. Think about water. Water doesn't wait to be motivated. It doesn't need to feel inspired before it moves. It finds the path of least resistance and flows. When it meets an obstacle, it doesn't stop. It doesn't question itself. It moves around, over or through, slowly, patiently, without drama. Over time, that steady movement carves through stone, not because water is forceful, but because it never stops. It doesn't need passion. It needs consistency. And consistency comes from calm. You've probably noticed that the more you think about doing something, the harder it becomes. You sit there, turning it over in your mind, asking yourself if you're ready, if it's the right time, if you have what it takes. And the longer you think, the heavier it feels. That's because thinking is not the same as doing. Thinking is where resistance grows. It's where doubt takes root. Calm doesn't live in your thoughts. It lives in your hands, in your breath, in the first small movement you make before your mind has time to argue. The Stoics understood this. They didn't talk about motivation. They talked about duty, about showing up because it was yours to do, not because you felt like it. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor with the weight of an empire on his shoulders, wrote in his private journals about how difficult it was to get out of bed in the morning. He didn't pretend to be excited. He didn't wait for inspiration. He reminded himself that this was his work, that the world didn't stop because he was tired. And so he rose, not with joy, but with calm resolve. And that was enough. We've been conditioned to believe that if something feels difficult, we're doing it wrong. That if we're not energized, we should stop and wait until we are. But difficulty is not a sign that you're off track. It's a sign that you're doing something real. Anything worth doing will resist you at first. It will feel heavy, awkward, uncomfortable. That's not a problem to solve. It's the process itself. And calm is what allows you to stay with it, even when every part of you wants to turn away. Motivation tells you to start when you're excited. Calm tells you to start now and let the excitement catch up later. And here's what happens when you do that. You begin, you take one step, then another, and somewhere in the middle of the work, something shifts. The resistance fades, the weight lightens. Not because you suddenly became motivated, but because you're already moving. Momentum doesn't come from feeling ready, it comes from beginning before you're ready. And calm is what lets you begin. There's a quietness to this way of living that people often mistake for lack of ambition. They see someone who moves without fanfare, who doesn't announce their goals, who doesn't need to be cheered on or validated, and they think that person doesn't care. But the opposite is true. That person cares so much that they don't need to perform their caring. They don't need to turn their work into a spectacle. They just do it, day after day, without noise, without drama. And over time, that quiet persistence builds something real. You don't need to feel strong to be strong. You don't need to feel confident to act with confidence. You don't need to feel ready to begin. These are lies we tell ourselves to justify waiting. But waiting doesn't make things easier. It makes them heavier. The longer you postpone, the more weight the task accumulates in your mind. The more stories you tell yourself about why it's hard, why it's not the right time, why you're not the right person. And none of those stories are true. They're just noise, and calm cuts through noise. Calm doesn't mean you never feel fear or doubt or exhaustion. It means you don't let those feelings decide for you. You acknowledge them, you let them be there, and then you move anyway. Not because you've conquered them, but because you've stopped waiting for them to leave. You've realized that they're always going to be there in some form, and that's okay. You're not trying to be perfect, you're trying to be present. And presence is not the absence of difficulty, it's the willingness to be with difficulty without running from it. This is what the old Zen teachers meant when they talked about chopping wood and carrying water. They weren't talking about mundane tasks, they were talking about life itself. About the fact that most of life is not dramatic. It's not a series of peak moments, it's just this. One thing, then the next. And if you can't find peace in the ordinary, you won't find peace anywhere. Because the ordinary is all there is. The extraordinary moments are rare, and they don't last. What lasts is your ability to show up, again and again, without needing the world to applaud. So what does this look like in practice? It looks like sitting down to work, even when you don't feel like it. It looks like choosing the difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. It looks like doing the small thing you've been putting off, not because it's urgent, but because it's yours to do. It looks like moving at a steady pace instead of sprinting and burning out. It looks like trusting the process more than you trust your mood. And it looks like letting go of the idea that you need to feel a certain way before you're allowed to begin. This doesn't mean you force yourself through everything with gritted teeth. That's not calm, that's tension. Calm is softer than that. It's the understanding that you don't have to fight yourself. You don't have to override your resistance with willpower. You just have to stop treating your feelings as facts. You feel tired, yes. You feel unmotivated, yes. But those are just sensations, they're not commands. You can feel them and still choose differently. And when you do that often enough, you start to realize that you were never as powerless as you thought. The world rewards action, not intention. It doesn't care how motivated you felt. It doesn't care how long you thought about it. It only responds to what you actually do. And the people who understand this, who stop waiting for the perfect moment and just begin, are the ones who move through life with a kind of quiet power. They're not louder than anyone else. They're not more talented or more lucky. They're just more consistent. And consistency over time is unstoppable. You've spent so much energy trying to manufacture motivation, trying to psych yourself up, to find the right playlist, the right mindset, the right conditions. And maybe it's worked sometimes. But it's exhausting, isn't it? Always needing to feel a certain way before you can move. Always dependent on something outside yourself to get you started. Calm offers you a different path. It says you don't need any of that. You just need to be willing. Willing to start small. Willing to be imperfect. Willing to move even when no one is watching, even when no one cares, even when you don't care. And here's the strange thing. When you stop chasing motivation, when you stop waiting to feel ready, something unexpected happens. You start to feel more at peace. Not because everything is easier, but because you're no longer at war with yourself. You're no longer divided between the part of you that wants to act and the part that wants to wait. You've made a choice. And the choice is simple. You move. Not with force, but with calm. And that calm becomes the foundation for everything else. There will still be hard days. Days when the work feels impossible. Days when you don't know if you're making progress. Days when you question everything. Calm doesn't erase those days, but it allows you to move through them without collapsing. It reminds you that you don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know how it ends. You just need to take the next step, and the next, and the next. And somewhere along the way, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Not because you were motivated every day, but because you moved anyway. So let go of the idea that you need to feel a certain way before you begin. Let go of the belief that motivation is the key. It's not. Calm is the key. Calm is what allows you to act when nothing inside you is pushing you forward. Calm is what lets you be steady when the world is chaotic. Calm is what carries you through the long middle when the excitement has faded and the finish line is still far away. Calm is the thing you've been looking for all along. And it's already here. You don't have to find it. You just have to stop looking past it. You don't need to be motivated. You just need to begin. And you can begin right now, not with excitement, not with certainty, just with calm. And that will be enough.